welcome July with a little bit of lettering art. So if you can see faintly here, I've just outlined some bubble letters with the word July, and I am just going to carefully go in here and I'm going to just wet the inside, maybe bottom quarter of each of those letters with just a little bit of water. They don't have to be perfect. As a matter of fact, I don't want them to be perfect. I want them to be kind of like, imagine mountaintops or, little bumps, waves. So I'm just going to wet, this is just plain old water, the bottom quarter of each of those letters. And I'll pull in my watercolor. I'm gonna use a little bit of this this yellow here. It's like a muted yellow. I'm going to use a lot of water in it, and I'm just going to drop that right at the very bottom of each of those letters that I've just filled with water. And then we'll just let the water do its thing. You can get darker in areas, but you want it to be lighter as it moves up the letter. So I'm just gonna drop and dab some of that in and let the watercolor do what it does. Okay, I just wanna try to keep somewhat of a crisper edge around the bottom of the letters. So I'll just go back in with the point of my brush and just try to make sure those edges are clean. Now you can come in from the top with a clean brush with water or just damp without a lot of water, and you can pull that color back towards the edge. It's also kind of pulling off. If I put too much water in, I want to pull some of that back off, but I'm just tapping my brush on a towel in between each little swipe of the brush. Some fun little art with letters. Now I'm going to start at the top of each of the letter and come the other way now, but I'm not going to join the two colors. So I'm just going to repeat what I just did at the bottom to maybe the top quarter to a third of the inside of each of those bubble letters. Just wetting the paper, and these letters where they touch, the colors may bleed together a bit, but that's okay. Just right at this stage, let it do what watercolor does. Now I'm going to go with like a darker blue, but I'm going to water it down a good bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. I'm going to just dip that dark blue here at the top, tap along the edge of the letter, just like we did at the bottom. We're going to do it now at the top. It's fun to see how you can pull that color back and forth with the brush. And that's my idea of fun. Anyway, I just love lettering and art. I can come in and I can grab some of this like brighter blue, and I can drop a little bit of that right over top of that really dark blue, just to give it a little bit of interest. Just grab a tiny bit more of that really bright blue and tap it just a bit. Now my paper is still very, very wet. Not very, very wet, but it's all still wet. So when I clean my brush again with my paper towel, I can tap that again, and I can come in and kind of pull that color back to the edge, or I can, with a little bit of water on my brush, I can wet more of the letter inside and see how it just starts to pull the blue down, because I want the two colors now to start kind of blending. I want to get that side of the J there with the blue. See, and we'll just, it's a little too much color, so I'm going to pull some of that with some extra water, and I'm just going to pull it around. I want these letters to touch slightly, so I'm just going to thicken that letter, and I can pull that blue down. Get some fresh water. I don't want a whole lot, but just enough that it's going to grab the color and pull it down. So I'm going to do the same here. Bring it up, pull it down. I just want to make sure the letter is wet pretty much all the way through now, from the top down to the bottom where the sand, it's actually sand. When I think of July, I think of all the summer fun in the beach and all that kind of stuff. Now, I just messed that up slightly, so I'm just going to use my paper towel, pull some of the water off, and I'm going to leave that letter alone for right now, that side of the letter. I think we can still save it, but I'm going to let it dry just a bit. Let's bring our Y up. I'll bring my Y up just a bit there. And I'll let that dry so that we continue to have the swoop of the Y. It's not perfect, but my background has like a wash of blue on it anyway, so we can save it. And at this point, I'm just going to keep coming in and dropping the blues. I'm just going to create some little dots. Around the edges of the letter, I want to be a little bit darker with my color. Just dropping it in as I go. And you can use like different shades of blue. If you want it really bright blue, use more of the watered down brighter blue. So I'm just gonna keep dropping. I don't like the way that looks right there, so we'll pull some of the blue down. I'm gonna darken this part of it up a bit. And like I said, I kind of wanted these two kind of bumping together a bit there. We can darken that. And now that our paper is pretty dry, I can go back in now and define that little swoop of my Y. And you can darken. I want it darker towards the top. So now you just keep coming in and creating the waves of your water, just kind of wiggling, making slants. Just wiggling that, and it's going to keep spreading on the paper. You can always come back in now and add some more of that sand color with some brown in it and let it just tap in a little bit around the bottoms. And you can come in with some water, fresh water on your brush to kind of soften that a bit and just tap it around. This got a little bit too much, so we'll pull that. There we go. We'll soften with some fresh water and we'll just pull some of that back off. And go back in again. And kind of put that crisp edge back at the bottom of the letter. It kind of gives you the effect of the beach, where the shoreline meets the sand. And you've got your water kind of coming in. And when this dries, we'll go over it with a little bit of either acrylic paint or gouache if you want to kind of create the little waves crashing, or you know, the bubbly parts of the waves while they run up on the shore.